Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of The World of Gaming, the #1 podcast where we discuss everything that happens in gaming. And man, I thought this week is going to start to become a slow news week. But
yeah, but up pretty quickly.
Yeah, but man, that changed pretty quickly. So we have tons of good stuff to talk about. Today we will definitely talk about the more or less breaking news that Hellblade, Clockwork Orange, and South of Midnight have been rated, and what that means. We got tons of great Stalker 2 news, man. The Witcher 4. We have some really interesting news on that. We will talk about a lot of a big interview that came out of the Xbox CFO Tim Stewart about console growth, about how the merger of ABK goes, and a lot more. We will talk about the Xbox teaser, the TGAs, and so much more. But first, Dutch, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Indeed, and welcome to the Midweek Mix-Up crew as well, because we're live on both channels as we usually do these days.
Yeah. Man, you need to get your panel back.
I know. Well, I've got one of my panel members vacated at the Xbox Netherlands event today.
Yeah.
So he's enjoying the Xbox Netherlands event there. That's Pat here. So enjoy, Pat. I know you can't listen because you're too busy playing games in person there. So enjoy that. But yes, I'm doing well. So many games, and then Xbox Gamepass dropped a huge list of extra games today.
Remnant 2, man. I was on the fence of getting it, but then I thought,
do you want to co-op it?
We can do that, man. Sounds like a plan. Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Great plan. Awesome stuff, man.
I've never played Remnant from the Ashes, so it's a new one for me, and apparently it's really good.
Yeah, I played a little bit of the first one and never finished it. It had some great potential, but I hear so many good things about Remnant 2. But Remnant came out just in a super busy period, so I never got around to play it. And I was thinking about getting it in, the sale, the Black Friday sale. But then I thought, well, do I have the time? I have so many other games that I already own and that I want to play. But now that it's completely free, it's a fantastic thing. Let's co-op. That's cool. That's a good plan, man.
Up to 3 players. But there's so many on that. There's about 4 or 5 on that list that I'm intrigued at. So yeah, it's gonna be a busy one. I need to go through the list again and double check which ones I was looking at. But there was a few there that I was super. I was like, ooh, very nice. I like this.
Sweet. Far Cry 6.
But yeah, other than that, I've been playing more Cyberpunk.
Wait, hang on. We'll talk about that in a second. I need to welcome our awesome community, man. That would be super impolite. All these awesome gamers that take the time. Oh, pardon me. Yeah. Damn.
You okay?
I'm good. I just had a little cough. Yeah. Welcome to this awesome community. Great to see you all in the chat. So many familiar names. Shout out to Stormplayer DX, who had his birthday the other day, and all the other awesome gamers that join us here today. We will have so many things to talk about, and so we definitely want to hear your thoughts. So drop your thoughts in the chat. We are definitely looking forward to hear that. And Dutch, I wanted to make this now a permanent thing, that we let the community vote what kind of gameplay, what games we are going to roll during the podcast. So before we switch this beautiful overlay to a little bit more gameplay, because who wants to watch our two faces only for 2+ hours?
I don't know what you're insinuating, Boxy. We've got very pretty faces.
We do. But they also look good if they're a tiny little bit smaller, and you can watch some awesome games. So Yeah, drop your votes. As of right now, looks good for H4, and I love that. I love our community, man.
Yeah, I think we've just built up an Age of Empires community, and it's no
Yeah,
longer a podcast. I think you just need to make an Age of Empires podcast.
I should. I probably should. All right.
A step-by-step guide for each civilization.
There are so many channels out there that do that, man.
But you know,
yeah.
there isn't a boxing about
that is so true.
So.
That is so true. You're putting thoughts in my head, man.
Do it.
I need to actually think about it. Anyway. So, yeah, guys, let us know in the chat what you have been playing in Dutch. What kept you busy lately?
Yes. So I've been playing and slightly addicted to, even though I've set my thing on playing it on stream, which sometimes I hate, but other times just means I have to stream more. Is Final Fantasy 16. This is really good.
It really is. I've been playing that too.
All the characters that you're introduced to, and the voices, you get used to them. Of course, the accents is a bit weird at first, but you get used to them. But the overall story and the way it intertwines, and you're like, I wonder where he's going and what he's doing now.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fades away, and you start playing such and such, and it gives you like a little cut back to them later on to see what's happening with them. I really like it so far. I'm pleasantly surprised by it, and I'm glad I'm digging into it now. So
yeah, how far are you into it?
Oof. It's hard without giving spoilers away.
All right. Because I'm thinking, I'm not sure.
I'm about must be around about the 20 to 25 hour mark now.
Yeah, same here.
And I do all of the side quests as I come to them as well. I don't leave them.
I stopped doing those because that's one of the two criticisms I have about the game. I love it; it's fantastic, but
you see, it does have its benefits, though. It has its benefits because it gives you the AP in order to level up your Acons.
Yeah,
and they give you quite a few.
But those are just every single one of those side quests is fetch quests, and the most stupidest fetch quest for that matter. If it would be at least like a challenging fetch quest. But
there is one, and you probably haven't got up to it yet. There is, and you will probably get a few that involves the blacksmith, where he needs an item, and you end up having a boss fight against some really powerful creature to get them. And then you start getting hunts as well, which is like big, kind of powerful semi-bosses that are out in the world.
Yeah, all the side quests I've done is like literally, can you put that plate on this table? And then you take it from the counter at the bar and put it on a table, and the quest is done. And so I did a couple of those, and since every quest was like that, I stopped doing side quests at all, which I usually don't do. If you know how I play open world games. I'm
happy to confirm that they do get better. You start to get a few rescue ones as well, where someone's went missing and you go find out where they are, and then it gives you like a little bit of a mystery. There was one where there's a branded guy, and you go and like you need to go to this rich person, and he's asked for a branded to go and help him. So you turn up and you kind of end up rescuing some branded people and stuff like that. So they do diversify. You do get a couple of little fetch questy ones in there, but they're like nicey, quick 2-minute jobs, like deliver an apple to this guy. So okay, that's done, and then there's like a longer kind of story-esque one that's built into it as well. So there are a few.
Okay.
So I would say
there
are some boring ones, there are some pretty cool ones as well in there.
So, because I'm still wondering how far I am actually into it. I have no idea, because the last mission I started, it said, okay, if you continue down this road, you probably won't be able to do the rest of the stuff. But it doesn't feel like I'm at the end of the, main story. So I don't know. No spoilers, but it's the thing where you go into the main city. I don't know if you have been there at this point.
It depends which main city.
The big capital one where the emperor sits.
Is it the one with the giant ice thing?
Ice cube thing, exactly.
No, that's not the. That's nowhere near the end.
Oh, okay, all right. Then I'm in relief
there's
because
several, there's several of those cities with those spires in, and you find that each basically when you vanquish one of them, which you'll come across when you're going through the story, each one of those has an Akon battle really affixed to it and a big story moment. So, yeah, you'll enjoy it, but it keeps.
All right. So good to hear that. Anything else besides Final Fantasy 16, man, that you've been playing?
Yes. More Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So those are the two that I've got at the moment. Of course, on the weekend, I'm starting Elder Scrolls. Next week, Avatar releases, so I'll be jumping on that.
Yeah, same here.
But yes, Cyberpunk. I was playing that more yesterday. I don't know how far into that story I am. I've got up to the part where you go into the exclusive club for the first time.
Okay. I would say you probably...
Did you stand and watch that cool kind of music show?
Yes.
Yeah, because
with the light angel thing.
Yeah. That was such a visually cool looking show.
Absolutely, man. That's it is a beautiful game, man. But now I would say you're probably 2/3 through the main story.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, not long to go. Well, I might finish it in time for Avatar then.
Yeah, there's a realistic chance. Chance, man. Good stuff. So let us see. What has the community been playing? TSWS Gaming is 3 hours into Final Fantasy 16. Again, great game. H. Julia plays Hogwarts Legacy for the second time. Actually, man, I have been thinking about that too. Last weekend, I watched for the very first time Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets with my kids, you know. I have. No, it wasn't the first time for me. It was the first time for my boys. You know, they've seen that movie, and now we are kind of in the Harry Potter fever. You know, and I've been debating that as well. Our good brother from the Netherlands, Jay, great to see you, man. He says he finished Jedi Survivor and started with Assassin's Creed Mirage. Good choices. Survivor is such a great game. Good stuff there. And Dustin Lambert is playing through Wolong. I have never played Wolong. I know I probably should, but I haven't been in the mood.
I have a little bit, but if you hate Souls games, you'll not get along with Wolong.
Yeah, I don't hate them. I enjoyed Elden Ring.
If you don't like the Souls games that don't respect your time, like the generic Souls,
that's my thing.
If you don't like, it's not for you then.
Okay.
It's not that it doesn't respect your time. It's just it's more akin to a generic like a regular Souls game, as opposed to an Elden Ring. It's like linear. Here's a boss. Like the boss right at the beginning of Wolong is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning. But yeah, if you don't like those and you get frustrated by them, then I would say pass. It's a good game, but it's just not for us.
All right. Good stuff there. So besides Final Fantasy 16, of course, I have been continuing H4. And if I look at the poll here...
Really? I would never have guessed.
You would never have guessed that. And actually, I thought, man, I'm just gonna play, the campaign and then move on again because I don't want to get back to that online addiction. But boy, I started playing ranked online matches again, and it's like heroin, bro. Like you can't stop.
Everyone has their poison, and Boxy Age of Empires is your poison.
Bloody. So I'm glad that the community likes it as well. We have 52% voting for H4, only 22% want to see Final Fantasy 16, and 26% want to see Phantom Liberty. So yeah, good stuff here. I have to whilst talking, which is a multitasking problem that I have, switch the gameplay real quick, and we're gonna watch H4, something from the campaign.
And my guys will get Final Fantasy 16.
Ooh, sweet, sweet. No choice there.
Nope.
It's like
that's what I've most
my podcast, my rules, bro.
No, but our guys as well on here for what they've been playing.
You know, hang on 1 second. I want to say real quick something about this gameplay that we are watching right now.
Okay.
This is a mission from the campaign of the add-on that released lately, the rise of the ascent of the Sultans, and I've been playing the campaign up until this mission on the highest difficulty, and boy, I had no chance whatsoever to beat it. So I have to admit, I had to drop it to, I think, hard or whatever the one below the highest difficulty is. And that is what we are watching right now. And even then, this mission is like freaking crazy. But it is probably the best mission I have ever seen built in a campaign in a real-time strategy game. Bro, it is so good. You have like 8 different locations, like kind of like capture, you have to capture those locations simply by putting your units into it. And if you do so, the units get some additional units get produced at that at those vantage points that you have to capture. But you can't control the units produced. They are controlled by the AI, but they will fight for you. And you get like ship drops every 90 seconds of the unit for units you can actually control. And it's such a clever idea. Like, you could make an entire game out of this concept. It is absolutely awesome. Man, it's so good. But sorry, man, I've been interrupting you.
It's okay.
You wanted to talk about...
I can see your massive excitement around age, so I can't interrupt that.
Yeah. I could talk about it like for the entire podcast, but yeah.
And this is why you need to create an age of Boxenberger show.
I kind of should, man. I kind of should. RSJ fan is actually playing Cyberpunk, which is awesome. Great game.
Nice.
All right, Dutch.
Our guys, we've got Ray Oid in the chat, and he's been playing some Killer Instinct Anniversary. Awesome. I still need to download the patch. I've already got Killer Instinct installed. I need to put it onto the internal because I already bought the definitive edition when it originally released. So I get the fancy upgraded version as well for free, so that's good. And he's been playing some Starfield, which is awesome. You see that news article with what's his face on Twitter, who did it 33 times and he ended up coming back and viewing himself. Nico. He ended up viewing himself.
I love his passion for Starfield, man.
33 gameplay. Jesus wept. Like, I'm glad he could do it to see what happens, but I couldn't do that. No chance.
I actually have been playing a little bit of Starfield as well this week on the Ally. Again.
Oh, nice.
To me, it is still baffling that I can that I can actually play Starfield on this beast of a machine that is the Ally at mid to low settings at 60 FPS, like perfectly. It's
nice. So
all
it's
right
good then.
Yeah.
Steve, the apiarian, which is a hard word to say, by the way. It was a beekeeper / is a beekeeper. He says, same here, been playing Killer Instinct Anniversary and Cyberpunk, completed the main storyline for AC Mirage last weekend. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Fantoso hasn't really said anything, but when he heard us talking about Final Fantasy 16, he said, Final Fantasy 16 talk, loving it so far. Yes, indeed. Nivostek has been, Fantoso, yes, been playing Final Fantasy 16. Nivostek is, he's currently playing his daily of Halo, Apex, Modern Warfare 3, and Starfield, which is awesome. And Phantos has also been playing a bit of Journey last night for a chill, which is nice.
Sweet. Good stuff here, man. Good stuff. Man, I love our chat. They are already talking about the best sales of the Ally, because the Ally actually is on sale a lot lately. I've been seeing somewhere, I think it was Best Buy in the US, having it on sale for $400. Here in Europe, I have actually seen it for $550, which is also a pretty awesome deal when you consider that it's usually around $800. So if you're thinking about getting a proper handheld, that's the way to go, man. But man, let us get into some actual topics, because there are plenty of them, and I want to start with actually one of my most anticipated games for next year, and that is Stalker 2. I had the absolute honor to play it a little bit, only for 10-12 minutes at Gamescom.
Yeah.
Played it on PC there. You could tell, obviously, it was an early build, but I was super impressed by it. Like, in a good way, it reminded me of Far Cry meets Metro. It's probably the best way to describe it. And I have it on my... I love the original Stalkers, so yeah, I have this on my radar, and everything I've seen so far and played so far has me really excited for the game. And we actually got some big news, and a lot of news on Stalker 2. So, yeah. This comes, by the way, shout out to our good friend Idle Sloth here, who digged out. He always digs out the craziest interviews that nobody would see and everyone would be missing. So definitely give this guy a follow if you're interested in especially Xbox news, because Stalker 2 coming day one to Game Pass. For the time being, it's an Xbox ecosystem exclusive, coming to Xbox and PC only. And yeah, I'm again excited. So here are the news, Dutch. Xbox Series X will have 2 graphical modes. The focus for them will be on the 60 FPS performance mode. They will share more information on the quality mode later, as the game is still being optimized. Unreal 5 gives them a global lighting system that allows them to achieve more realistic day and night transitions and multiple weather environments. I haven't played in the part that I have played. I only played during day, but at the end of the demo that I played, you got into like a big thunderstorm, where I was in a house and then lighting struck through the roof, and you know the ambient was illuminated really beautifully. So good to hear that. I can confirm that. The main story will take about 40 hours, which is a good amount of time. The main storyline has 4 different endings. Yeah, so depending on your choices, you have different endings. Side tasks will also have different results based on the player's choices, and some of the side tasks will actually affect the main story plot in some way. There will be auto and manual saves. There's a stealth mode where you can use your knife to kill everyone. Headshots are going to be one-shot kills, and the final polish of the game will take a while. So it's hard to say how close they are to finishing the game. That's what they said. It's hard to say how close we are to actually finishing the game. So, Dutchman, hearing all of that, what are your expectations? Are you excited for Stalker 2? And when do you think we might be able to play it?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I've been excited for it since they announced it, but I've given them an extraordinarily wide berth because of the situation surrounding the studio and the country that they're in. And so I'd give them a much wider berth than I would any other to just get the job done as and when they can. Hopefully we'll see it at least like midway through next year. maybe it's June, July time. It releases. Might end up being a shadow drop on. Might have been a shadow drop on, or during E3. It's going into Game Pass anyway.
Yeah.
So it could be that they get it ready for then. But again, no massive pressure. Yeah.
I mean, again, if any of the studios out there has a reason to delay a game and take their time, it's them.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I was just super excited to hear that they will have a non-linear story line. You actually get to make decisions that matter on and have an impact on the storyline and the outcome.
Didn't you kind of experience that a little bit anyway in your playthrough?
I did that. I actually. So I've been playing the demo twice. Because in my first playthrough of the demo, I wasn't able to actually see the end of the demo, because it started out the part that I played. Yeah, I started out somewhere in the wild, and a guy gives me like tiny bolt and says, "Okay, if one of the anomalies occur, you throw them into these anomalies, and boy, you should do that. If you see an anomaly, throw the bolt in there." And,
yeah.
Then I had to walk to a little village, and like super tiny village, 5-6 houses. And on my way there, I met a guy. There was a dude in a small cabin. He was getting attacked by wild dogs, and I was trying to actually help the guy and shoot the dogs, but I accidentally shot him. And so he attacked me, I killed him, and then went into the village, and everyone in the village was like, "Whoa, what did you do?" And they were just attacking me like crazy. And actually they killed me. And then I started the demo all over again. This time I was actually able to help the guy and kill the dogs without hurting him. And he was, "Oh, thank you so much." And then I walked into the village, and they were all friendly, like giving me side quests and stuff, and which none of those you were able to play, but yeah, you can tell. And then something happened. I think that could be a minor story spoiler, and I had to go to a different village which was abandoned. There was like a giant bug thing coming at me. And I killed that, and then the thunderstorm appeared, and so that was basically my my playthrough. So yeah, your choices matter, your actions matter, and you could tell it was like a vastly open world, a lot of different places to go to. The inventory system, which they specifically told me they haven't decided on which inventory system they are going to use, but it reminded me a lot of the Resident Evil one. It could be like a completely different in the end game. They specifically said that the developer said we have like 3-4 different inventory systems, and we haven't decided which one to use yet. But it reminded me a little bit of Resident Evil, where you have these blocks and you have to arrange your stuff. So if you find a weapon, you have to rotate and adjust it in these blocks. It was that, and there was a big skill tree and everything. So it's an open world action RPG, and hearing all those news, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to play it. I still have the hope that it might be a little bit closer than summer. Actually, I would have thought it would be like an early 24 game,
You never know. I like the fact that they're just saying, "Listen, like we're aiming to, we're getting it done, and when it's ready, essentially." And it's the only studio right now I'm kind of saying, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. There's a few studios where I just hope I'd rather they just cancelled the game, i.e., like Skull and Bones, which has apparently got another release date.
Who cares?
Just getting the game.
Boy, that game is going to tank hard.
Oh yeah,
No
yeah.
one is
I
going to
know,
play
having
that.
played it
I've seen your gameplay,
multiple times.
man, and there's
Yeah.
no way I'm going to play that game.
Nope. Nope.
That's the thing with Ubisoft lately, you know, they have some really cool looking, great looking games coming, like Star Wars Outlaws looks phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to Avatar, but then they have these other weird ass games on the horizon, like the Skull and Bones
Skull and Bones. You
and
know what it is with
others.
Skull and Bones? I don't think they know what they want it to be.
Yeah,
I don't like having played it. I don't think they know whether or not they want it to be like an Ark type game where you have to craft and build everything,
yeah,
or whether or not it's a pirate game where you having combat, or whether or not it's a Sea of Thieves esque game, because it's nowhere near like Sea of Thieves. Like, if you want a piratey game where you're a sole pirate and you're commanding a ship and you've got your crew that you boss around that are your friends, it's not it. It isn't it. It's far from it. And the intro to the game is just so long and convoluted and boring that you'll drop the game far before you even want to continue playing it. So I don't see. And from every playtest afterwards, everyone that's played it since then has said exactly the same thing. Like, they don't see how they could possibly improve the game to where it needs to be. From a gameplay perspective, not the visual, not the performance. It's got nothing to do with that. It's simply just the gameplay is just damn right boring. And sometimes you just can't, like, how can you that's not something you can just change overnight. It's not.
nope. And that's why they should have canned it like 3 years ago. Nice idea, nice try. Okay, didn't turn out, and
the problem is they've got a involvement from the government which funded them. Forgotten which government it is. It's one of the Caribbean governments that funded them, and so they have to release the game.
yes, they have to, man. They have to. All right, let's move on from Skull and Bones. So Stalker 2, looking forward to that. But you know, I know you are looking forward to Hellblade 2. And,
yes.
As do I, and I think a lot of our community as well. It does just look, everything we've seen looks just fantastic. So we had some news earlier today, almost breaking, like 2 or 3 hours before we started our show. Again, our friend Idle Sloth digged that out, that the Australian rating board has rated actually 3 Xbox games. They have rated Clockwork Revolution and Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 as 18 plus due to high impact violence, and South of Midnight as PG for mild themes and scary scenes. They have now already removed that from the official website. But yeah, those 3 games already getting a rating, man. That obviously brings up the speculation. How far are those games actually off? I personally could of course see Hellblade 2. My guess was always like Q2, early Q2, April was my guess.
And we both could see Clockwork. When we saw Clockwork's gameplay, we were like, that is the furthest. That game actually looks closer than any of the other games we've seen.
Yeah, man, because if you look at that trailer, there's so much gameplay in there. Like, they have story elements and everything in that trailer. They have actually gameplay.
Game, like walking around and everything. That's in game.
Really in game, yeah. You can see, okay, someone shooting something, doing the time movements and everything.
Yeah.
So that's true, but I still would not have thought it to be a 24 game, or maybe if so, like really end late 24. If that game already gets a rating, it feels like it might be closer than we think. I don't know. I don't want to read too much into this, but usually if you have to have like at least a more or less finished product for those agencies to be able to rate your game. And the same goes for South of Midnight. I wouldn't have never guessed that it could be a 24 game, honestly, because we have seen nothing of that game. We have seen an in-engine cinematic trailer. that's it. We have seen no gameplay. We have no idea what it is. All they did with the trailer, as much as I loved it, don't get me wrong, but all they have done is set up the mood, give us an idea of the art style, and that's it. We have seen nothing of this, but also getting a rating, a PG. So yeah, man, where do you stand? Could we see those 3 next year? I mean, Hellblade is a given.
I think South of Midnight's further.
Okay.
Hellblade, of course. I think now I'm arching more. It's really hard. I'm arching now more towards Hellblade releasing first and Avowed later on. But it's hard. It's really hard to tell. However, having seen the trailer for Clockwork, that looked like the furthest along out of all of them. So I could see South of Midnight being a 25, but I could see Clockwork potentially being the one that squeezes into 24 to be the 4th big title. I can see it. I really can, and I'm now watching towards Hellblade being the Q1 game or Q2, Avowed being maybe the winter release, and Clockwork being kind of somewhere in between.
Yeah, listen, I was always like, okay, Hellblade, probably Q2, early Q2, April was my guess, maybe May.
Again, I think the one thing Xbox seem to be doing at the minute as well, as much as like these big first-party games, people are looking forward to them, and you would want them to stick on their own 2 legs. What Xbox don't want to do is shove it into a month that is convoluted with huge industry releases.
Yeah.
So I'm also kind of glad that they're going, right, okay, these are releasing 24, and then they're kind of getting closer to the point. They're seeing what other releases are around, and then going, right.
Yeah.
Now we'll do it.
Yeah, we've been speculating a lot on what could be the other 2 big AAA releases for Xbox next year, because Avowed and Hellblade, they have that. They have that window. I was always
Towerborn is one, but
I don't think that they count that. Yeah, they said 4 major releases, and
they're not counting Flight Sim as well. We know that Flight Sim is not counted.
I don't think that they count that either. And so Avowed, I was also like their holiday game, because I feel like they wanna actually do something on Avowed before showing it and then releasing it, because it got mixed receptions for some reason. I still don't understand really why, because I loved what I've seen. That's what I expected from an Obsidian RPG. But the thing obviously is, with the first CGI trailer, they set up this, dark and gritty tone. And what we've seen so far from Avowed is super vibrant colors, and so I think a lot of the backlash that they got came from that. But then they've shown the game like 1.5 years before it comes out, and a lot can change in that time. So I think they will position Avowed more in the holiday season, and then is South of Midnight.
Jagger out in my chat says, I think South of Midnight will get polished until early 25, and I think that's a good point. I think because of the amount of games in the pipeline for Xbox now, they have the ability to go, guys, if you want to just like really extra refine the game and like take your time on just polishing it out as much as you can or want to, and add those little things that you might have thought you didn't have time to add, you've got the time. Like, we've got this packed lineup. We've already got like the 4 games that are super close. We don't want to rush you and put you into it, because South of Midnight is one of those games that could potentially be overlooked if it releases at a really packed window.
That is true. That is true.
So you would want to put it in a window kind of by itself, give it its time, give it its flowers. So I think he's got a good point there. It could be that South of Midnight is pretty close, but they're probably just going, we've got Hellblade.
They get the Psychonauts treatment.
Yeah. And then, of course, people are mentioning Call of Duty, but at the same time, that was the 4 promised was prior to the acquisition going through. So Call of Duty is just an additional.
yeah, it was around that time where they
Yeah,
doubled down on that promise. So with Call
yeah,
of Duty, it's tricky, you know. Obviously, Call of Duty, you would consider that a AAA blockbuster game.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
But depending on how they can't do it right with Call of Duty. If they count it into the 4, people will
yeah,
argue, but it shouldn't count. They broke their promise
yeah,
because that's not really an Xbox exclusive, you know.
yeah. I
It'll
wouldn't have
still
pressed it
come
either.
out on everything. So
Yeah,
and if they don't count it, yeah, then people will argue about the other way around. So yeah, with Call of Duty, it's tricky for them. Um, but
it's a good place for Xbox to be in, to the point where now, instead of having no games to worry about, now they've got so many games that they're kind of struggling to place them, which is what Matt
yeah,
Booty said last year. He said, I'm now
yeah,
getting to the point now where I have the pipeline of games. We know when they're going to be ready. Now I've got to try and figure out where I'm putting them.
yeah. Where to
Because you
position
can't,
those?
as much as it would be for us gamers, it would be amazing to just have game this month, game next month, game the month after, game the month. That would be brilliant. We don't have the time realistically
Yeah,
to
to
get
play
through
them
them all,
all.
even with Game Pass. Especially when you've got big RPGs like Avowed, and you've got potentially big RPGs like Clockwork, and then you've got Hellblade. Like, these aren't small games; these are relatively big games in terms of scope. So these things will take time, and then you have your games like your Starfields that are like hundreds of hours long,
Yeah,
like chunk in there as well. So I think it's pleasant now to see a complete change of things, where Xbox are getting to the point where they're going, where
yeah.
are we? Where realistically are we going to place things that make sense?
That's the thing. That's the thing, and especially with those smaller releases, double A releases. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like if you were to release a hi-fi rush in between Starfield and Forza, it would not have gotten the attention. So it was a perfect time, yeah, to put that. And I feel like South of Midnight, for instance, could also be that kind of game that, you know, it probably won't be like considered like a huge, gigantic AAA blockbuster. It will
yeah,
most certainly be the biggest game that Compulsion has ever released. Far bigger than We Happy Few and Contrast. But yeah, so it is tricky where to position them. Then you also have to factor in third-party releases. You don't have to launch your big AAA blockbuster close to GTA 6 or something like that, you know? So that's also something you have to consider. And then if you think about all the studios that could potentially have something, like Machine Games with Indiana Jones, we know that we will probably at least see it next year, but it could be a 24 game. I don't know. Then there's, of course, the rumor of Gear 6 floating around, and we have all those other studios where we have no idea what they're working on. We don't know where the next Doom is going to be positioned. And Perfect Dark. Yeah, I mean, listen, Perfect Dark in 24 would have given them 6 years, which is a realistic window. I still don't think it's going to be the next year, but you know, there's so many possibilities. And adding up on that, or on top of that, you have games that are Xbox ecosystem exclusives like Stalker 2 that will come out. You know, I know not first party, but still. So yeah, we are going to eat good next year, man. We are going
yeah.
to eat good.
It's going to be one of those years as well that could end up being. It could end up being better than this year, and that's really hard to
Imagine.
to
Yeah.
to imagine. But look at all of, even outside of just Xbox, all of the games already lined up for next year, and then you add the Xbox on top of that, and then potentially whatever else happens in the industry as well, with whatever Nintendo end up doing, whatever PlayStation end up mustering up next year, because they're going to have to muster something.
I don't think they have
I don't
something
think they
next
will,
year.
but you will see.
We will see.
But
I mean, they will have
industry wise, it's packed next year
yeah,
already.
absolutely, absolutely. And listen, man, Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
They had also another showing where they introduced Captain Shark and Mr. Boomerang, and there's this tech demo going on right now. It's heavily under NDA, but I'm hearing good things. I'm not breaking any NDAs because I didn't get into it, didn't get a code, and didn't sign any NDAs. But I'm hearing good things. Apparently, it's actually a lot of fun. So, yeah, man, next year is also going to be a fantastic year. But Dutch, let us talk about what I consider to be the best, probably the best game ever made, and that is The Witcher 3. And we know that it's going to get a successor in The Witcher 4 or whatever it will be called. And actually, we got some really cool infos this week. They had their earnings call the other day, CD Projekt Red, where they confirmed that it's now the biggest team within CD Projekt Red, because they have a lot of teams now that do the spin-offs, that do the Cyberpunk sequel. But 330 developers are now working actively on the next mainline Witcher game. And along with that, we got an interview with the former animation director of The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk, and now he's in a lead position for the next game, the next Witcher game. And he had to say the following. I'm just gonna read now from the interview that was actually in Polish, but WCCF Tech actually translated it. So I'm gonna just read what he had to say about The Witcher 4. We want to continue on the same path we've taken, but we don't want to make the same game. I think that's a given. We've got some lore elements that must be kept. After all, it is still the same universe, and we can't go beyond certain limits. Therefore, we must follow a very specific path and innovate on that. At the same time, it is clear that we have to try to appease a new public. The Witcher 4 won't be out for some years, and it'll be a long time since the previous one, so we cannot just target the audience already fond of the saga. We must also build a new community. On that note, I believe I can say it'll be an excellent entry point for many players, without forgetting the longtime fans who still wish to follow Geralt's adventures. Our priority is always trying to break new boundaries. We want to go beyond them. We want to try and do something new compared to what's currently in role-playing games, especially since we work in that genre and target RPG fans. I can't say too much, as you can guess, but the idea is to build something that surpasses The Witcher 3, telling a more intense story and crafting a more intense gameplay as well. So, Dutch, getting goosebumps just thinking about The Witcher 4. So, what are your thoughts first? So, there's a lot of things in that. Apparently, Geralt is in the game to some degree.
I think it'll be flashbacks. I think it'll be like...
Could be a side role or side character now.
It could be the way that they... Remember how they implemented Ciri at the beginning of 3?
Yeah.
Where they had these tiny little side bits with, like, Geralt.
I don't remember anything about The Witcher 3. I think I should play it again.
And yeah, you've only played it like 12 times or something.
Around about, yeah. I think if I accumulate all the gaming hours across all the systems that I've played The Witcher, I would probably end up at least 500 hours or so. So,
wows.
Yes, and every minute was worth it. So, but yeah,
no, I'm looking forward to it. Like many though, I'm still dubious on how well they can. I still don't know why they've got rid of the Red Engine and they're doing Unreal. As much as Unreal Engine can be one of the best in the industry, Red Engine was also fantastic.
I think honestly, if you want to try to look at it objectively, which is always kind of hard, I would say Cyberpunk is still one of the best, if not at least in the top 3 of best looking games out there.
Yeah, easily. Especially on, like, if you're on PC specifically.
Yes.
With the what do you call that, ray tracing ultimate or whatever they've got on PC.
Yeah.
Like
ray tracing overdrive mode.
Yeah. That is a whole nother level.
It's a whole nother level. The engine is absolutely outstanding. And I think probably, this is just me guessing and reading something out of all the interviews we've gotten over the last couple of months and years. There are multiple things if you consider about engines. You can have a great proprietary engine, but what CD Projekt Red really wants to do is expand. They have founded studios in the US and across Europe, outside of Poland, and multiple other support studios within Poland. And so if you want to try to expand, you have to hire a lot of people. And it's always challenging to train external new talent for your specific proprietary engine. As many benefits as you might have by doing your own thing. It's hard to acquire a new talent, and Unreal Engine simply is one of the industry standards, so that's definitely one big aspect. The other aspect, of course, is commercially wise. Modern day engine development is super expensive, and yes, using Unreal is also not cheap, but I think that's also a big factor that you have to consider if you think about what engine to use. And
would this be Boxy, the first real large scale open world game in Unreal?
Well, there have been a few. Days Gone is a huge open world game. Oh, come on, it's a fairly huge open world game.
But not quite to the extent that The Witcher was.
No, because one was an RPG, another was an action adventure, but they were
both. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like this big.
But still, I would count that. Then, well, Mass Effect, probably not open world. More open.
I mean, even if you have a look at the full on RPG like Witcher.
Yeah.
It has to be the first one on the engine.
Probably. It's and I think honestly, that's a reason why they might have gotten like a good deal with Unreal, commercially wise, because what Unreal always struggled in are two things, and that's first-person shooters and open world games. That's why you don't see a lot of them. And if you can pull off a Witcher kind of open world game, in the engine, this is simply like a huge pull factor for others. Epic is going to learn so much by developing the engine and further along with CD Projekt Red, which is also hugely beneficial for them. So, yeah. But I do agree. I don't want to, competition is always good. So, and if you look at some of the best looking games out there, they usually have been, or not usually, but many of them have been in those proprietary engines. Look at the Flight Sim, look at Cyberpunk, look at even things like Last of Us with Naughty Dog and their engine, yeah, I don't know why they did it, but those reasons could be some of them.
I would think the first point is the most likely. I think the first point you mentioned with hiring talent is the most likely of them, to be honest.
Probably. So what do you expect out of this game? They said specifically they want to do the lore, the universe justice, but at the same time they want to make this accessible for new audience, get new players in, and fairly so. I would assume that this game is still at least 3, maybe 4, 5 years out. So we are really talking here around 26, 7, 8, somewhere in that ballpark where you land, and that's then 10 plus years after The Witcher 3, which is a closed trilogy. No spoilers here, but the story itself ends after The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? How are they
understand
going to approach that?
Yeah, I would understand why they say make it more accessible, because there's quite a few people that have tried to get into The Witcher.
Yeah.
The Witcher 3 specifically, and it's just too overwhelming for them. And I can understand it. I haven't played it myself. You've played it multiple times. For normal people to get into a game like that, it's overwhelming. Like the opening segment's fine, but as soon as you get past the opening segment and past the first village, then it just goes boof. Like like here's a bunch of stuff. Have fun. See you later. You can use a guide. You've got tons of Witcher senses. If you turn off the game for any amount of time and try to come back to it, you've forgotten everything you've learned. How to craft potions. How to sort your weapons out. The combat. The Witcher sense. There's so much to it entail. Then you've got the powers that you've got. The Witcher powers, where it's like pushing back or the shield or
the 5 Witcher signs.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of them things that can be quite overwhelming for someone who wants to try and get into the game in the first place. It might not be adverse to it's compared to most RPGs. There's a lot to it. It's super in depth compared to most. So maybe they're thinking about making it a little bit easier on that front. But again, they've got a fine balance, because the Witcher fans are going to want it as in depth as possible, as in depth as Witcher 3. But if you're trying to approach to a new audience, then maybe you look at making things like not an accessibility option, but maybe a specific control scheme option, like you can at the beginning. Like if you have a look at Final Fantasy, you've got 2 options you can choose from at the beginning, which is one's like standard, and then the other one's like not easy, but like an easier way of kind of doing that or playing the game. And maybe they look at implementing something like that, where you can choose a control, like a type of control scheme for the game in itself that makes doing some of these things far easier and far more accessible than it would be for those who want a more in-depth thing and they want more control over it. So that's the thing. That's kind of how they're going to approach that, how they're going to make it more accessible for a wider audience. That's difficult to really comment on, because we don't, unless we're involved, we can't really see how that could be possible if they're trying to balance a fine line between keeping it as engrossing and as in-depth as it was, and also appealing to a generic audience.
See, I don't think that is what they actually meant with that statement. I think they will definitely listen to feedback, and the big feedback was obviously the combat. Many didn't like the combat, which I actually enjoyed it, because I thought the one thing that they really did is it was not just your character getting better while playing through stat points and whatnot, but you actually realize when playing the game, okay, I'm becoming better at playing this, doing the parries, doing, the using the signs to my advantage, and so on. And so I really enjoyed it, but I think that's one thing. I think when they talk about more accessible to a new audience, I feel like if you put out a game, The Witcher 4, a heavily story-based RPG, and you haven't played 1, 2, 3, and going back to playing 1 now, it really didn't age that well. And even 2 is a great. I love it, but yeah, it shows its age. The Witcher 3 is still absolutely worth playing it. But I feel like if you talk about a decade in between such a gigantic trilogy, I think when they talk about we want to make it more accessible, I don't think it's going to be called The Witcher 4. They will call it The Witcher whatever and start a new saga, so that people that are not familiar with the lore can get into it, get a new story out of it, and of course that's challenging because see what happened with like games like Mass Effect or so that did something like that, where and then you still want to like cater to your fans. And The Witcher 3 has a gigantic fan base. It's sold, close to 40 million copies. So there's... I bought 5 of them, but still... it's like... Yeah, I lost my train of thought. So I think... I hope it's not them... going into the, let's make our game more accessible by making it simpler. Because that's what CD Projekt Red is known for. The same things you said about The Witcher also goes for Cyberpunk, like an overwhelming game. Yeah. There's super deep RPG mechanics. You can do so much. Yeah. Tweak that, tune that, upgrade that. It's like... and I want that out of a CD Projekt Red game. So I do hope that they will stick with that. But at the same point, they said, they want to do something new. Still big RPG, but something new. Something we haven't seen in role-playing games yet. And
who do you think they're going to do for the main character then? Do you think they're going to go with Ciri as the main character?
No, I think they will go with someone we don't know.
A whole different Witcher.
A whole different Witcher, or I don't know, maybe even a different school. I could see them do that, and then just let Geralt appear as a side character here and there, or something like that. But I don't think they will use someone as the main character that we know. Because, again, if you tie it too close to the original trilogy, you will scare off new gamers. And after such a long time, I mean, the same goes for even stronger for, like, Elder Scrolls. There's a whole generation of people, gamers growing up that don't know what Elder Scrolls is. By the time Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, it will be like, I don't know, 18 years or so in between the two mainline Elder Scrolls games, it's a completely different time, a completely new generation that you want to address with that game. So I think with The Witcher they are going to stick to that lore, of course. That's what they also confirmed, but they will really have a new main character we haven't heard of before. They will have like these throwbacks. Maybe you visit Novigrad again. You know what I mean? Something like that. But I think they will do something entirely new. But really looking forward to that. And they also, by the way, announced that Cyberpunk Liberty. Cyberpunk Liberty was Cyberpunk Liberty. Liberty.
Cyberpunk Liberty, I like it.
Yeah. Damn it. Was actually super successful. Yeah, they sold 4.3 million copies of that expansion already. So yeah,
20 something around the ranks of around 20-ish% of the Cyberpunk fan base have bought it so far, which is a big uptake, to be fair, for an expansion.
It is.
And I
Absolutely.
know a lot of people are only just starting it, or people are still debating it. I had a few people in my stream yesterday that were like, oh, do you recommend us picking it up? I was like, absolutely. If you haven't already played Cyberpunk, I would recommend getting both of them. They've got bundle offers on at the moment. They've got the complete edition releasing shortly. So if you haven't already, now's the good time. It is in the best place that it has ever been. It looks fantastic. It has everything that's been missing that people wanted at launch. So now is the time if you haven't played that. It is one of my favorite games of this generation by a long shot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, man, let's move on. Remember last week we talked about Xbox console growth, especially here in Europe. And this week we got actually some official news on that end, because there was a big interview with Xbox CFO Tim Stewart, and he actually talked about a lot of things. One of them was the console market for Microsoft. Of course, he confirmed that they aren't growing that fast in that direction. And that they rather want to focus on high margin sales. This is now an article I got out of WCCF Tech, and I'm just gonna read the thing, man. It's easy. It's easier. So financial officer Tim Stewart once again talked about Microsoft's primary reason to buy Activision Blizzard King, thereby confirming all that the Xbox console audience isn't growing that fast. Obviously, with Candy Crush, but also with Call of Duty Mobile, Activision Blizzard King knows what they are doing when it comes to mobile games. He said, yes, mobile is the most gamers in the world play. Hang on, Yes, mobile is the most gamers in the world play on mobile. The CFO said during the conference, we think about the console landscape, and part of the real evolution of the deal was, hey, look, we got a fixed console audience with Xbox, or relatively fixed, but not growing that fast. You've got a couple of 100 million kind of consoles addressable market. You've got around 300 to 400 million kind of in the PC gamer market, and then you have billions on the mobile market. So that's the kind of, when you think about the Xbox component of Call of Duty, you go from, again, that low margin business, which is console and PC, to high margin business. And then what you do is you also expand and say, we are now driving high margin sales on PlayStation and Nintendo. So yeah, obviously Microsoft sees this, that they are stagnating in the console market, and that they see the growth in mobile. And Dutch, I wanted to bring this topic up again because last week we discussed intensively about them not marketing Xbox at all, at least here in Europe. And with that kind of strategy, you're not reaching your target of 3 billion gamers around the globe, obviously, but you actually won't grow. Doesn't matter what kind of games you have. If nobody knows what the console is and that it exists, you're not going to sell anything. You're not going to sell Gamepass, and you're not going to sell consoles. And he made it sound like, okay, that's why we are going to shift our focus, obviously, to mobile. And I want to talk to you about that. Is that a fair assumption? Do you see any that they will care even less about the console market going forward now with mobile? Where do you stand on that, man?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll just invest more heavily in the areas that create mobile content. I mean, it's hard to say that they're going to invest less into the Xbox AAA games or consoles, because just look at the sheer volume of games they've got in the pipeline. And with that many AAA studios at their helm, even if they invested more into one area than the other, it's physically impossible for those studios to not produce huge, groundbreaking AAA games over the course of their lifespan. So I think what they're meaning on this front is the investment in additional AAA studios or more AAAs, etc., isn't going to be as heavy as previous. And of course, the investment in gaming in general is still cranking up. So there will be more studio acquisitions. We might see a couple of studios that are revolving specifically around mobile. But I think I don't think it should be something that people should worry about or be concerned about. I just think, listen, they've got over 40 AAA studios now that are working on content for consoles and PC. They've only got a handful that are creating specifically for mobile, and by handful, it's like still kind of anywhere near 10, which is still a substantial amount of mobile developers. Even Bethesda had their own kind of a few mobile developers in there, and obviously now Activision Blizzard have as well. So they've got a few, but I think they will invest more in more mobile game developers, and obviously look to push them as high as possible too, because there is a big market on there. As much as we don't play that, there is a big market there for AAA mobile games these days. So I can see them investing in that, because let's face it, some of the phones we have in our hands now are unbelievably powerful for what, in comparison to some, like they are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and sometimes more times more powerful than a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Which means that the overheads that you've got in order to create big AAA experiences on mobile are available. And you can cater them to all devices. You can cater them to you literally can segment them off. Android store is really easy. If an app doesn't work on your phone, it tells you this app doesn't. You literally cannot download it. You get a better phone, which is really what they should be doing on PC. Is create games that are specifically. We've mentioned this many times when it comes to AAA games. But when the benchmark's that low on the PC, then it's every bit as possible on the current gen consoles that we have. So they do the same on mobile. They'll just arch towards some of the higher end devices, and the fact that the vast majority of people, especially on the Apple side, always invest in the newest iPhone when they can. They always get the newest device. There's a significant amount of people on Android as well that always get the newest device. It doesn't necessarily mean it's Samsung. It could be the newest HTC. It could be the newest Google device. It could be any number of them, but they've all got these flagship devices, even Razer, even like all of these companies, all the gaming companies are bringing out their own phones and things these days. So, yeah, it's every bit as possible, I think, that they're just going right, okay, we've heavily invested in the console space and the PC space in all of these big acquisitions. So we're quite confident now we've got a pipeline of developers that are capable to put out content at a frequency that will uphold the console and PC space. Now we need the same level of frequency of studios that are able to pump out mobile content at a relative quickness.
Yeah.
Mobile's a bit different. Mobile, there are that many things going into the app on a daily basis, that many new releases going into the apps on a daily basis, that the speed of turnaround for new games on mobile needs to be substantially quicker than it is on console. Like, you need to be releasing content a lot on mobile to stand out, and it needs to be high quality. It really needs to stand out for people to have a chance, because there's so much filler and firmware crap on mobile. And you see them all on your advertisements every 2 minutes. You can scroll down Twitter, you can scroll down Instagram. No matter what it is, you see these stupid advertisements for games that aren't actually games. These random like spamware games that are filling up the marketplace. And you need to take. I think you do need to take control of that, because when people think of mobile gaming, that's the shit that they see, and that's what the people think it is. But mobile gaming can be so much more than that, when the devices that we have in our hand are so much more powerful than what Nintendo currently produce.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's just they're arching their okay, their spending power and their focus now on, right, what can we do? PC's fine now, consoles fine now in terms of the amount of content creators we have making games. Let's focus on mobile and see what we can do to improve that and that output and what can we do there. And that's the only way they're really going to grow on all angles at the same speed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the thing is for them, mobile is not just about gaming, because they've lost the phone race, with Windows Phone shutting down, and it is our phones are the device that we use probably the most in our household. Listen, I don't know about you, but I spend way too much time on my phone. You do everything with it. And for them now getting a foothold again in the mobile segment at all is huge. And with the new regulation coming in 2024, where they can also put their own store on iOS and things like that, gaming is a big part of that, to get people to spend time in your ecosystem. And we all have the phones in our hands way too much, probably. And so, yeah, that makes sense, of course. At the same time, I don't want to say concerned, because that sounds so harsh. But ever since Xbox opened up their console system and to a wider ecosystem with cloud and especially with PC, we've seen their shift focus over to PC, because that's the bigger market. Yeah. And Tim Stewart said it himself. They are not growing in the console space. We can argue again all day long on why that is. Yeah. You could argue they didn't even try to grow there. There's a lack of brand awareness around the globe and so on. But overall, one thing is for sure: the console market is a saturated market. Like, you might move some customers over from PlayStation to Xbox, or Nintendo to Xbox, or Xbox to Nintendo, and so on. But you have like new console gamers coming in is not happening at the same pace than in other ecosystems. And they see that, obviously. Tim Stewart literally said that. And then, of course, you come up if mobile is now their focus, where will they spend the next investments, the next acquisitions? Is it going to be in the ecosystem where you don't see growth, or in the ecosystem where you see the potential growth? So yeah, I sure hope it won't come down to that, that they abandon the Xbox or Xbox console segment even more. But then on the other hand, I think in this day and age, you don't really have a choice. Gaming or the media landscape moves on. It's not about having this one stationary device that you can play only on your TV. That's not what gaming is about. And I just look at it and look at how much I love my ROG Ally being able to play on the go. Whether it's when I'm outside of my house somewhere, traveling or whatnot, or I actually play a lot of it in my house. Yeah, sitting in my backyard playing some games. Well, not in now, because now we have snowfall, but you know what I mean. And yeah, so you kind of have to move along, and it's what, when it comes down to, PlayStation is trying to catch up to. Yeah, they expanded onto the PC market, yes, but not really heavily, and they have, and they're trying to catch up on these kind of things. If you talk about games as a service, where are games as a service titles super successful? It's on mobile. Most people play Fortnite on mobile, and you kind of have to move into that market. Yeah. But maybe I'm just a little bit too scared about it for Xbox to shift away their focus, especially now that we are finally in this, where Xbox finally is in that position where the future actually really looks bright. We just talked about it, how good 24 is probably going to be for us, especially for Xbox fans. Yeah, with Game Pass, and day one drops in Game Pass, and Hellblade and Avowed, and maybe South of Midnight, maybe Clockwork Revolution, and so on coming. I don't want to see them shift away that focus. But yeah, at the end, time will tell, and I understand the logic behind it, and it makes total sense, because if you want to be sustainable, you kind of have to do that. And every bigger third-party publisher also did it. Activision Blizzard obviously invested a lot by buying King. EA heavily going into mobile. Ubisoft going into mobile. Everyone wants to be there. It just makes sense. And listen, PlayStation also going to be there at some point. They are just catching up, playing the catch-up game, because they still cling on to the traditional console-only model for way too hard. But that's not where gaming is moving. So I understand it. But let me briefly shout out Dave Ramos, who sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. And he says, Microsoft bought their way into a dominant publisher position. Acquired King for mobile. Surely Microsoft could buy more console shares by lowering prices. Yeah, I agree. I think they are in a position now where they really don't depend too much on the income through actual console sales. They depend now on you subscribing to Game Pass and buying content on their platform, in their ecosystem. And like Dave said, they are now such a gigantic publisher, and not just an Xbox publisher. Yeah, because the biggest games, coming out of ABK are either multi-plat or tied to not the traditional console ecosystem like World of Warcraft and Candy Crush and whatnot. So yeah, they could take a loss a little bit more and go more aggressively in the console market, because the one good thing about the console market definitely is you tie your customer base more significantly. And Phil literally said himself, they've lost the worst generation to lose during the PS4, Xbox One generation, because that's when everyone started to build their digital libraries. So if you are serious to actually grow not just on mobile and PC, but actually grow on console, I think price reduction definitely could be something that they might or should consider. What do you think, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they can take that hit as well, especially the S. But even the X, you could probably lower the X to like just a solid 400 now, and it'll be fine.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be enough. That'd be enough, and especially when you're thinking about there's a new revision coming up soon as well. So,
yeah, klar, sure. Next year.
And the thing is that you could do what PlayStation didn't do and capitalize on that, and the fact that this revision is potentially going to be all digital.
Yes.
But there is, of course, when we've seen in the plans, it's not just the old digital. There's going to be slight revisions to the regular S and the regular X as well that come out. So they could take that opportunity to reduce the price when they launch the old digital one and launch that sub 400, and then reduce the price of the others to 400 and 200 respectively.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw during Black Friday the Series S was going for 150. Now, God knows how much that affected, but 150 for a Series S is obscenely low.
That's impulse buy territory, man.
It is massively. So I would love to see the data that come out the back of the Black Friday week, because that only ended today. The offers on those consoles in most places. Some of them off finished last week, but yeah, it's like you say, impulse buy territory. So it's going to be interesting to see how many were shifted during that point, because that 150 mark is impulse buy territory. Even I was thinking another one for another room, 150. That's pretty cheap.
I don't think it goes any lower than that, honestly. But I think that the point it really is you should focus here on the Series X, and be really aggressive. Yeah, gain console share back, buy your way into it by reducing it to 400 permanently. Then you have like $150 delta in between PlayStation and Xbox, and in terms of console market share, they are far behind that, especially in territories outside of the US. And that's definitely one way to do it, man. Combine that with great content, which is coming and has started to come, especially with Starfield. So man. Let's stick with Tim Stewart and ABK for a bit, because he also talked about how fast they are merging together at a really impressive speed, he said. The speed at which we've worked together is really impressive. Thankfully, we both talk gaming language, and even the few months since we've been an entity, the speed of which we've integrated and the speed at which we've worked together is really impressive. At the highest level, it's leveraging what Activision is so good at, which is consoles and PC and mobile. And how do we take that, create DNA, make it an accelerant to the IP that we have, leverage the great assets that they have and the expertise that they have. Apparently the merger is going really well. The stock is still not back to in trading, but that's not the important part. The important part is that the different divisions apparently, or at least to that statement, work closely together. And there's one funny thing that backs this up, because Dutch, during the FTC trial, Sarah Bond said that she would assume that the earliest way you could see Call of Duty coming to Gamepass or Nvidia's streaming service is early 25. That's what she said in front of the court. And guess what is now available in the Nvidia streams? It's Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, and one other one that I forgot. So it kind of looks that it moves really faster than expected. And so I wanted to ask you, man, what do you think of this? Could it be that we might see first games coming from ABK to Game Pass earlier than we expected? And what do you think, man? I mean, again, Nvidia has Call of Duty now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing. I mean, there's another reason one way you could look at it, I suppose, and that's the Game Awards. The Xbox have asked people to specifically pay attention to that. So whether or not they do a Game Pass dump during that revolves around some of this content, which would make sense. It won't be the most recent content, but it could be Modern Warfare. It could be potentially Modern Warfare 2. It could be the back catalogue. It could be Spyro and Crash and all them things. It depends on what level of dump they're going to do when they do it. But if they're telling people to tune in, I think it's more along the lines of potentially you might get a game reveal or an update on a big game. But I think it could be like Game Passy stuff that gets shown off during the Game Awards.
We'll talk about that in a second, man.
Yeah. But I think when we're talking specifically around when we can see Activision Blizzard content, I think that's potentially one avenue where we could see it soon. If not, then begin the 24. Yeah,
I agree. Listen, I'm happy to hear that the integration of ABK and Xbox actually goes smooth, because I think what we all underestimate is how challenging that is. Overnight, they doubled their entire employee count. Yeah, Xbox plus Bethesda ZeniMax, they had round about 10,000 people, and with ABK they got another 10,000 people. Integrating such a huge organization that also is going through a lot of struggles. We know all about all the, harassment lawsuits and cultural problems that this organization ABK has. Implementing that in your own organization, basically doubling the size of your staff, being suddenly responsible for market segments where you have basically no idea of, especially things like mobile. Fulfilling all those promises you have made, bringing Call of Duty to the Switch, bringing Call of Duty to other streaming services, also doing the deal with Ubisoft. All that stuff takes up energy, resources, and isn't easy. It's a super gigantic task to do that for the leadership team. And to hear that this goes smooth is great, because that can only mean that they will start rather sooner than later, not just releasing games into Game Pass, but actually, work as an entity together. I don't know, developers talking to each other. Call of Duty might come back and use it again, or vice versa, or the marketing departments working together for better publishing deals, for all that good stuff that can come out of this, and to hear that this actually goes smooth is super interesting. Bobby Kotick is out in about a month, and then he's gone. So get rid of that guy, and then I'm looking forward to see, man, what this will actually turn into, and when we can actually see something that where we as gamers get the actual benefit, because so obviously so far we haven't gotten anything, but the Game Pass drops might come sooner, because again, Sarah Bond said Call of Duty Game Pass, no way, early 25, and now we are at the end of 23 and it's already coming to streaming services. So good stuff there, good stuff, man. But you already teased something, Xbox at the Game Awards. They also teased something, man. They put out a tweet that said, news you don't want to miss at the Game Awards. Celebrate the best games of the year and the big winners live at the Game Awards on December 17th, along with important announcements and other Xbox news that you don't want to miss. So, Dutch.
To interrupt slightly, the last time they said something like this, they unveiled the Series X and Hellblade 2.
Exactly. And I see a lot of speculations out there. Gear 6 is floating around. The announcement of the Series X Slim, or whatever it will be called. This game, that game. So, Dutch, what do you think is realistically going to happen, and what would be your dream announcement?
Realistic. I've seen so many huge, ridiculously huge lists, to be honest. I've seen them where they've got like 7 or 8 Xbox titles on there, like new ones and new trailers for all of these. And I was like, no, it's not going to be anywhere near as big as that. That would be like E3 territory, Xbox at the Game Awards, which really isn't in keeping with what the Game Awards is. It's not like it's just a showcase for Xbox, so I don't think they'll go that far out.
I mean, they have done some pretty amazing things at the Game Awards. You said, they revealed their next-gen console on that stage. They revealed some of their biggest blockbusters in Hellblade and Perfect Dark. And
but could they show off a couple of games and potential a couple of release dates? Could they show off maybe the Hellblade release date with it falling next year? There's a possibility. Could they show off Clockwork? Could they give a release date for Clockwork or a release window for Clockwork? surprise everybody. Could they? It's something along those lines, but I think you might see maybe 2 or 3 titles from Xbox on there, and then some Game Pass stuff. I'm hoping personally, I'd just eventually get that definitive Hellblade release date and a really gritty combat gameplay segment from Hellblade.
Could be.
That's all I've wanted for so many months.
Listen, everyone wants that, right?
Yeah.
But what else? What else could it be?
Like I say, I think the Game Pass announcements could be one of them. Like the Activision Call of Duty stuff, I think that could definitely be one. Could also maybe Indiana Jones.
That could be.
Maybe Indy, because that was meant to be closer than expected. That was originally slated for like 21 or 22, and then it went a bit silent. So could it be? And apparently, according to that, the development on that was going really well. So it could be something along those lines.
And what would be your dream announcement, man? If you could choose.
Still Hellblade.
Still Hellblade. Okay.
100%. Until that game releases, that's my dream announcement.
See, that's the logical answer to, okay, what could they be showing? Yeah, I mean, they've shown it twice at the Game Awards. Yeah. They did the original.
I suppose on that front, if it was to what I would like to see outside of Hellblade, then I would love to see what indie is.
Yeah,
I would love to see Machine Games' version or idea of what Indiana Jones is.
Oh yeah, me too. I want to see that. See,
maybe here's another one pushing the boat out.
Yeah,
here's another one pushing the boat out.
I think
possibly more in-depth Fable gameplay.
Oh, see, I've been thinking about that too, because at the end, what they've shown during the showcase this year from Fable was in-game. There were super small snippets of gameplay in there, and others were like in-engine cinematic things, could be cutscenes or whatnot. But they had to have a build for that. They had to have a running build of that game to do those kind of captures. So if you have that build already, why not use it one more time to create a massive hype trailer and show something?
Yeah, I think to put in, because a lot of people when the Fable trailer release, people were like, that's not gameplay. What they could do is just really show off the game and like literally just stick a huge sticker at the bottom that says captured on Series X gameplay. And then just literally show the combat, show the world as vibrant, as beautiful as we saw it. And that would have enough waves as it is anyway to just kind of say, we told you it was gameplay. You didn't believe it. This is gameplay.
See,
I think that would be a big one.
It would make a lot of sense because when you think about the Game Awards isn't an Xbox show, like you said. So you have a lot of folks watching from the industry, you know, and I do not just mean like the other developers and publishers and a lot of media folks, everyone from the bigger media sites going to watch that, obviously. So you have that attention, but then you also have a lot of attention of an audience that isn't your customer base yet. You know, PlayStation fans, PC games, mobile fans, everyone is watching that. Nintendo fans, of course, as well. And so what you want to do at the Game Awards, and that's why they chose to reveal the Series X on that stage, is to sell something that will sell your system. You know, I still think it was a genius move to do Series X and Hellblade together, because what has Xbox been lacking for so long is that big AAA cinematic blockbuster game the third person over the shoulder. Hellblade is that experience. It is a visual showcase. And I know graphics shouldn't matter, but they do. It just matters how a game looks. The Game Awards is not watched by the casual audience. It's not.
Yeah.
It is watched by hardcore fans from your customer base and a fan base that isn't your customer base. And it just showing a Fable, a Hellblade, those visual graphical showcases just makes sense. Listen, Xbox has those graphical showcases. They have those cinematic experiences. This is a message you want to transfer. So I don't think you're going to show South of Midnight. I just don't think that that's a game you would show at the Game Awards. So, and if you look at it historically, what Xbox has announced, it was Hellblade. It was Perfect Dark, where okay, a lot of people know Perfect Dark, nostalgia. You hit the nostalgia button, and this is going to be like a massive, beautiful AAA blockbuster game. You want to transfer that message. And so if you think about actual real announcements, I think two things are going to happen. The obvious part is there will be something Game Pass. There will be a trailer for Game Pass, an ad for Game Pass, best value in gaming, get 500 plus games via the subscription service on the device that you choose, blah, blah, blah. The classic Game Pass stuff. There's also still the thing about Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate will probably take away most of the awards, probably Game of the Year, probably Best RPG, probably Best blah, blah, blah. Exactly. And this would be the natural thing, of course, the big announcement that you want at that stage. You can get that in Game Pass now. The Game of the Year is available now on the console. That's going to happen. We know they will announce the release date during the Game Awards. That's confirmed. But the cherry on the top of the cake is, of course, if it comes to Game Pass, And I don't think it's that unrealistic, because when I posted that like 4 or 5 weeks ago, it was before they announced that they will announce it at the Game Awards when the release date is. So many people replied to me saying, no way this is going to happen, way too big of a game to get into Game Pass. But listen, the game has been out for 6 months. The first initial buzz is over. And the game has been out on PlayStation. They have a pretty good idea on how big your audience on consoles is now. Yeah, they know, they can estimate pretty good now what would be the potential loss in sales that we take if we bring it to Game Pass. This is a pretty good estimation that they can do right now. And I don't think that Baldur's Gate, I have no numbers. If someone in the chat has some numbers, let us know. But I didn't find any numbers on how many units were sold on PlayStation. It's sold massively good on PC, because that's where Baldur's Gate comes from. Yeah, it's been super successful on PC. I don't think it was that successful sales-wise on PlayStation, and that's just because it's not usually such a game is not the target for a console platform. So yeah, I don't think it's unrealistic. The game is out for half a year. It's been already released on a console. You can really have a good estimation. And for Xbox, obviously, it would be huge to announce that. So I think this is like a fair bet what will happen Xbox-wise. But I don't think that they would put out that tweet if it was just a Game Pass ad. Pardon me, a Game Pass ad and the Baldur's Gate drop. If you hype, Xbox knows this by now. Yeah, that they have to set expectations right. and they know that if you tweet out something like this, again, they said you don't want to miss it, blah blah blah. Celebrate the winners on December 7th, along with important announcements, plural, and other Xbox news that you don't want to miss. It's not just dropping one game into Game Pass. It's going to be something more. So naturally, I think it's a fair assumption, and otherwise I would say Xbox, keep expectations in check, because they didn't with that tweet. So there will be something else. I think Hellblade is a realistic thing. Do the hat trick, third time at the Game Awards, show gameplay, announce it with a release date in April, so I can win my bet with you. Would make sense. And it is the kind of game you want to show at the Game Awards. It's the cinematic, graphical showpiece game. Would make sense. A Fable would definitely make sense. You could show, of course, again, Perfect Dark, but I also feel like what you said about Indiana Jones, because what do you do with Indiana Jones? Indiana Jones probably going to be a beautiful game. Machine Games has always delivered. The Wolfenstein games, beautiful games in the tech engine, yeah. So, and you hit the nostalgia factor again with indie, you know, and that's also something that a lot of people said. Yeah, Xbox is lacking those pop culture IPs. And granted, indie is probably not a Star Wars, and it's not a Spider-Man or any of those Marvel superheroes, you know, not anymore. But still, we had you send out the message, hey, we have those pop culture IPs, we have those cinematic experiences. It would make sense, yeah. Then I've seen a lot of talk about Gear 6. What do you think? Is Gear 6 a possibility?
Yeah. Nope. I think we'll see Gear 6 earliest next year.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that's not the message that they want to transfer, because what has been the problem with
Gears,
Xbox?
Halo, Forza,
Gears, Halo, Forza. Yeah, and if you look at this gen, what has been carrying Xbox through this gen? It's been Forza Horizon, it's been Forza Motorsport, Halo, and Starfield. Yeah. Yes, Starfield. We gotta give it to them. But that's what has Xbox been carrying, Forza and Halo. You don't want to send out the message, yeah, we got another Gears coming. As much as I would be excited, because I love Gears, truly do. And I want to see it. I want to see what the Coalition can do in Unreal 5, and where they will close the second trilogy of Gears, and where they will take it. And but that's something for the Xbox fans, you know? That's the announcement you want to bring at the Xbox showcase, and not at the Game Awards, where you have the chance to send a message out to a big audience that is not your customer base. And I don't think that Gears would make sense there. So yeah, there's plenty they could show. I don't think it's gonna be about. I don't think it's Clockwork or South of Midnight, because I've seen a lot of speculation on Twitter today because of the rating. Yeah, okay, it could be because they got a rating because they show it more in depth at the Game Awards. I don't think that those are the kind of games you want to show off there. You really want to bring out graphical showcases of cinematic or AAA blockbuster experiences. So I don't know, man. Fable would make so much sense.
I think I'll be covering it solo this year because it's because of its time that it's airing. But I'll be watching it, and if I'm watching it, I'll may as well stream it. So I'll be covering it.
Okay. But, no, I'm not going to watch it live. I'm going to I don't want to see that show, honestly, because I want to see the announcements. I want to see the trailers, and I can rather go to sleep, wake up in the morning, go to YouTube, and watch all those awesome trailers, and not bother with the actual award ceremony. That's I don't need to sit through that and stay up all night because it's like 1 a.m. right when it starts our time.
Yeah.
So
for you, yeah, midnight for us, and it lasts like 3 hours or something. So
yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not. So yeah, man. All right. Xbox at the Game Awards. I sure hope that they will show something after teasing the entire community like that, man.
Yeah. They've only got themselves to blame if they're saying there's important announcements. So
yeah, absolutely.
And Xbox have got a habit of doing that. They've got a habit of saying something's big, and we're tuning in, and it's not. So we'll see.
Yeah, they have a habit of doing that. You always have to be on your heels with
on your toes.
yeah, on your toes.
Yeah.
Are you saying you have to be on your toes in English? Because in German you say heels.
On your heels. Quick on your heels. On your toes means like
interesting.
Steady.
Interesting.
A bit like because obviously the on your toes is more like a sprinter. Obviously sprinters or runners predominantly on the front foot on the toes. I can understand the heels comment though as well.
I never gave it any thought. So,
yeah.
All right. Now we got that covered. On your toes. All right. Listen, let's stay on Xbox for a second. Again, Tim Stewart had this big interview, and he also mentioned something about Game Pass coming to PlayStation and Nintendo that I've seen a lot of people discuss already. So he basically confirmed that they have the mission to bring the first-party experience to every screen that can play a game. He had to say the following. At the highest levels, you go from what was a lower margin third-party entity that we sold on our store to a high-margin first-party business. So when you think about Xbox component, the Xbox component of Call of Duty, you go from what was a low margin business to a high margin business. Then what you do is you also expand and say, we are now driving high margin sales on PlayStation and Nintendo. And what you'll hear from us more and more is a bit of a change of strategy. And again, not announcing anything broadly here, but our mission is to bring our first-party experiences, our subscription services to every screen that can play a game. That means smart TVs, that means mobile devices, that means what we would have thought of as competitors in the past, like PlayStation and Nintendo. We are going to NVIDIA GeForce Now, their gaming subscription service. So, yeah, man. Phil has always been very specific about his wording. You know, Starfield will come to, or Bethesda games will come to devices where Game Pass exists. You remember that phrase? And now Tim Stewart also confirming, yeah, we want to bring the subscription service to PC, mobile. And of course, they want to expand that to their competitors, PlayStation and Nintendo. You think that this is a realistic chance that we will ever see such a subscription service on Game Pass on PlayStation or Nintendo?
Nintendo's the only one where you could kind of slim see it, but even then the console would have to keep up unless it was like cloud only. PlayStation, absolutely not. No, they would never ever let Game Pass on PlayStation. I don't care what it is. They wouldn't do it, even if it was financially benefit to them. They just wouldn't. Because the one thing they don't want is they've already got it with Call of Duty, but the one thing they don't want is third-party revenue completely escaping them through a different app that they can't control.
I agree.
And it would be the case if every game that drops into Game Pass was now available to PlayStation gamers, and PlayStation do not financially benefit from it, not to the extent that they would like. It just won't happen. I can understand why they would want to do it, because for Microsoft financially, it would massively benefit them.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely there's a cat and hell's chance that PlayStation would allow that.
See, I agree with PlayStation. I'm not so sure about Nintendo, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. I think Nintendo's a possibility. But then again, the console would have to. At this point, there is zero chance you're playing any native Xbox games on Nintendo.
No, that's the problem. You have to port. Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of cloud.
It would have to be cloud.
Cloud is a different beast, because cloud is running on Xbox consoles, right? So the developers don't have to develop a different version of the game. If you want to let a first-party game or any game run on the Switch or on PlayStation, you have to develop an actual different version for it. That's definitely an obstacle, besides the fact PlayStation or Nintendo not wanting the subscription service on it. But via cloud, I could see that happening. On Nintendo, particularly, honestly. Because Nintendo wouldn't do it for free. Yeah, they would still make money of it being on their system to some degree. Yeah, so they wouldn't do it for free. They don't have their own subscription service that they're trying to sell you. Well, they kind of do, but it's not like a subscription service as PS Plus or Game Pass is. It's where you get the retro games, the Super Nintendo and N64 games on the Switch. Yeah, but so they don't have their own Game Pass, whilst PlayStation does. PlayStation would rather have a game like Remnant 2 now, yeah, in PS Plus than in Game Pass on their console. Yeah. So there's a lot more direct competition there. The Switch also has been, for mainly power reasons, obviously, not been like the third-party console. You know what I mean? There have been certain ports to the console, like just recently, they got Hogwarts Legacy or Arkham Knight, which apparently runs awfully on the Switch now. But that Arkham Knight came 7 years after launch to the Switch, and that's what I'm saying. You know, if you want to play Avatar next week, you can't do that on the Switch. Yeah, you have to play that on PlayStation or Xbox. If you want to play those kind of games, it's what you usually don't do on the Switch. Yeah, the Switch is great for indies. It's great for the Nintendo first-party content, and there's plenty of that. So that's why it is so successful, you know. But the big third-party games are not there. So bringing those experiences to the Switch, either natively or via cloud, I could see Nintendo allowing that if they make enough money off of it. You know what I mean? Because it's not... Game Pass wouldn't be competing with anything on that is on the platform. It would make the platform per se more attractive if you want to. And of course, there could be a different tier, just like you have different tiers for PC and console. Yeah, there are games on PC Game Pass you can't play on console either, and it could also be that not all the games that you have in the Xbox console Game Pass tier that you would have this exact same games on Nintendo. So, but I don't think it's unrealistic to assume that it could be coming to Nintendo. On PlayStation, I'm with you, man. There's no way that this is going to happen. Not as long as a PlayStation exists will you see Game Pass on there. I don't see it. They would compete on every level. Like they compete on the subscription services, on the game sales, on it's just not happening. Wouldn't make sense for Sony to allow that. But yeah, let's talk about the Switch while we are at it real quick, because there have been some minor news lately coming out for the Switch 2. We know that it's probably going to feature an NVIDIA chip, and there have been a lot of rumors lately that say, well, they will be able to rival the PS5 or Xbox Series console, because it's now comes out about 3.5 years after those consoles. It will have the benefit of an NVIDIA chip with DLSS and everything. But a lot of tech insiders have leaked that the only superiority that the Switch 2 will probably have over the PS5 or Xbox Series X is the ray reconstruction thing, that is supported thanks to the NVIDIA chip. But there won't be any other superiority. And a lot of different sources point towards a March reveal of the Switch 2, which I would say make sense, reveal it in March, release it in June, or even then the holiday season. But usually they launch. Nintendo is the only console manufacturer that launches their console usually somewhere in the middle of the year, while every PlayStation and Xbox console have come out in November, always in November. And even the Slims, look at the Slim now, the PS5 Slim, this November release. So Nintendo has not done that. They have released their consoles in May, June, July, somewhere in the middle of the year. What do you think about this power of the Switch 2 and really or reveal date? You still there, bro?
I don't know when the reveal date's going to be. When do you think it's going to be?
I mean,
yeah, I'm still here.
You look very choppy here on my stream. I don't know what's happening.
Whether it's good now? Good now?
You're good now. Yeah, you're good now.
Weird.
Okay. All right. So, what do I think? I think, again, March is a realistic thing. The Switch 2 has been rumored for so long. And you can really, really tell it has had its life cycle. You can tell that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wouldn't reveal it throughout before the holiday season. They are not stupid. They want to take this holiday season and sales of this holiday season with them. So announcing it in March sounds realistic to me. We know that other hardware might come at the end of next year. There's, of course, thanks to the leaks, we know that Xbox is going to release a Slim. There will be a PlayStation 5 Pro probably coming next year. Tom Henderson has been spot on with his PlayStation leaks so far. So there's no reason not to believe him when he says there comes a PS5 Pro at the end of next year. And so a March reveal would make sense. Again, launching it somewhere in the summer also would make sense for them, especially since it's like a portable system. They don't fear the summer break that much because people can just take their consoles with them outside and on vacations and whatnot, So it sounds realistic to me. You would also have a good spotlight to reveal it around that time frame. If you would announce it around in the June period, you will have a lot of competition of other news because of all the showcases happening then. Announcing it a little later September or whatnot would be probably already too late. You want to have like the hype built up. So March sounds good to me. What about you? And what do you think about the hardware spec thing?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's run its life cycle. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would March would be okay. I don't know what they would have to have something lined up to release with it though. Like I think every console should. So it'll have to be announced soon, or sooner than later, if it was going to release in that time.
I'm not saying it's going to come out in March. And if you
Announced in March.
yeah, reveal.
Right.
Announced in March along with the next 3D Mario game.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. Okay.
release it,
Yeah, that makes a bit more sense. In terms of power, we've heard it's significantly more powerful than the previous one. Obviously, it needs to be anyway, but it's still not going to be anywhere near as in line with the rest of the gen. So it's still going to have its drawbacks, and it's still apparently not going to have. Well, it's not going to have the OLED panel as standard as well, which I don't know why. I don't in this day and age for a mobile gaming device anyway, or at least predominantly mobile gaming device, the Switch wouldn't just launch with the OLED panel. The OLED one was significantly nicer looking visually than the previous Switch. I mean, it needs to be more powerful. I don't know whether or not to take the specs with a grain of salt, but it needs to be significantly more powerful. I think it's doing a disservice to the very very talented developers that they've got in-house to keep them so pulled back in comparison to what they've managed to do with Zelda, for instance. With such little hardware is ridiculous. Even like Pokemon was the one that really showed off the significant drawbacks of the system, I think. With the amount of things that were happening, and it was like a live open world where there was like essentially it was like a mini MMO. It was like essentially populating certain areas of the map on Pokemon with live things that were happening in the world. Then you had the 4-player co-op multiplayer that was happening on that game as well, and there was significant performance issues on that game, a lot of stuttering, a lot of issues, and I think that's predominantly down to the hardware and nothing else. I think it showed that when people were cracking it and putting it on PC that there wasn't an issue with the game itself, and that predominantly the issue was the hardware.
Yeah.
So I think it's doing a disservice not having decent hardware for the developers to flex their muscles. I think if what we've seen from Nintendo is what the developers are capable of on such limited equipment, God knows what they're able to muster up when they've got a bit of power behind them. It's gonna be an interesting watch.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Listen, I don't think that Nintendo is ever going to come back to the powerhouse console race.
No.
They did the last time they did that was with the GameCube. It didn't work out for them, and doing something else, something different, something unique, has always worked out for them. The Wii, super successful. The Wii U, obviously a failure, but then they also did something very unique out there, like this hybrid console, portable machine, as well as docked stationary console. It worked out really well for them, but I don't think they are ever going to come back to the spec battle against Xbox or PlayStation. It's not going to happen. So I don't think, and of course, considering that they will definitely keep that hybrid console approach, I don't think that they will ever go back to having a proper stationary console and a handheld like they used to, during the Wii U days, with the 3DS and the DS and so on. I don't think that they are going to do that, because game development also became a lot more expensive for them, and you can't do that. Develop proper pipeline for only a handheld and only a stationary console anymore. Just not going to happen. So I think they will definitely stick with that approach. And of course, if it's being portable, if it's a portable system, you can't compete with a stationary console like the Xbox or PlayStation. Just not going to happen. It doesn't mean that they can't benefit from certain technology progress, especially since they are the only ones in the console market that bets on Nvidia, obviously DLSS is a big factor, especially on small screens. If you talk about a portable system, where you just can really gain a lot of benefits of having that state-of-the-art upscaling technology. So I wouldn't assume that. On your point of the OLED screen, it turned out to be a massive success for them to have the slim model of a handheld just being upgraded with an OLED screen. It's a super successful story for Steam and the Steam Deck OLED. It just makes sense to have the slim version being the selling point, of a bigger OLED screen. Doesn't mean that you can't have super nice screens in classic LCD technology, like again the ROG Ally, beautiful screen, amazing screen. So one doesn't exclude the other. You know what I mean? So I would assume that they will have obviously a power upgrade, but they are not going to be a powerhouse console. That's not what's going to happen. For the first couple of years, they will probably get a little bit better third-party support again, because they have now a system where developers can actually make state-of-the-art games run. But if you think about a game like Jedi Survivor running on a Switch, don't see that happening. You know what I mean?
Nope.
So
the fact that they managed to get Hogwarts running the way it did
is impressive.
Surprising.
But honestly, the cutbacks are huge.
Oh yeah.
And even again, I've seen just today a couple of videos of Arkham Knight running on the Switch, and that's an 8-year-old game. Yeah, the game came out before the Switch, so I don't know. But it will be interesting. You interested in the Switch too? Going to get it?
Yeah, I didn't upgrade to the OLED. I said I'd wait until the next Switch comes out. So yeah, I need one as well, to be fair.
Yeah, me too.
I do need a new Switch upgrade. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see myself missing out on Zelda and Mario and all that good stuff.
Nah. And for me, Pokemon. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, so that's my Nintendo RPG. Loved it since I was a kid. I would never give that game up. I don't care how old I am. Like I've played every single Pokemon game that's released, so I'm never not going to be playing Pokemon.
Yeah, not for me, but even though I grew up with Nintendo,
and it's still a turn-based RPG. I mean, look how that works, and it's one of the highest-selling games on Nintendo.
Yeah, dude, turn-based games can work properly in this day and age. Look at Baldur's Gate.
I think Square should experiment bringing back a modern-day turn-based Final Fantasy and see how well it does, because I think it would do much better than they anticipate.
Yeah. I don't think turn-based should hold you back. You shouldn't be scared. It's been proven. It's been proven that turn-based games work in a year 23, 24, But yeah, man. let us move on from the Switch 2 and get to our community questions. As
Yes.
always, you guys can write in on Wednesday, either on Twitter, YouTube, Xbox, PlayStation, wherever you want to write in on the Discord, and send us some questions. And for some reason, we didn't get too many questions this week. Usually we get a whole lot of questions and we can barely make through it. But we still got a couple of good ones. So Omatoni writes in. Listen. With Jim lying, crying, flying, styling Ryan, white shirt wardrobe choice for signing major corporative deals on the 12th hour of retirement, here is your silly question of the week. What would you wear to sign a business deal or receive a VGA award? A tux, cosplay, gamer shirt, what would it be, man? Have you seen the pics of Jim Ryan?
Yeah, he just doesn't care anymore.
No, he's obviously already retired.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now I'd probably do more of a Phil Spencer routine. He always wears gamer shirts and like a bomber jacket or something. I'd probably be something along the lines of that. You never see Phil Spencer in a suit ever. He's always wearing some form of gamer shirt or like an Xbox bomber jacket or an Xbox hoodie or something.
Unless he appears at court, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the only time we've seen him in a suit, and then he looked uncomfortable.
Yeah. Listen, the corporate dress code has changed in recent years.
Oh yeah, it has.
I also work for a gigantic corporation. We have 280,000 employees around the world. And when I started in the company, it was especially when you had management meetings, it was a suit. You had to wear a suit. Yeah, I remember we all had our ties, somewhere in the desk, and when the big boss called, you just took out the tie. That's how I started, and now I go with a t-shirt. If I have very high management meetings, I sometimes I don't put on a suit. I haven't put on a suit in like forever, but you put on a little nicer shirt, a polo shirt or something like that. But you still wear your jeans and sneakers, and that's cool. However, when it comes to signing business deals, I feel like there's still a cultural difference. In the Asian region, if you sign a deal there, you probably still want to put on a suit. If you in the US or across Europe, yeah, you just wear whatever. Nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, it looked like the guy from NC Soft beside him kind of was wearing a suit and thought, "Oh, this guy's super casual, so I'll roll my sleeves up to make me look like I'm a little bit more casual."
Yeah.
So he like rolled his shirt sleeves up a little bit. So I was like, he obviously wanted to be like suited and booted for it, and then Jim Ryan's turned up in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh yeah. So, good question though. Dave Ramos asks this, man. I have a question about the fate of Series X. With it rumored that Xbox will launch Gen 10 earlier than expected, originally November 2028. Do you think Series S is destined to become a streaming box for Gen 10? And if so, when do you think that it will happen?
No, I think they'll do exactly what they did with the last gen, and they'll give it a year or so, and then they'll phase it out.
Well,
they've already got cloud. I mean, to a point, yes, he's right with the streaming side, because they've already got cloud there in order to allow people that are on other Xbox consoles that haven't upgraded to the current gen to be able to stream a lot of the games that are on Xbox. Not all, but a lot of the games that are on Xbox you can play via the cloud. But ultimately, that depends on whether or not they upkeep the servers for the cloud, etc., etc., and keep adding to it and strengthening it over the years, or whether or not they just leave it as is. But ultimately, yes, it would pretty much turn into a streaming box, because I think they will just phase it out over a year or two when the next gen launches.
See, they've done it with the Xbox One. The Xbox
And the
One
One X,
and
yeah.
One X and the last gen consoles, yeah. You can still play Starfield on the Xbox One via streaming. And I don't see a reason why they wouldn't do it with the next gen either. For both consoles, Series X and S, honestly. The only question, of course, is will there be a need for it? Because by then it could also very well be that the xCloud app or streaming app is on all other devices. Just like with Netflix. You remember during the 360 days, and that's why Microsoft, we need to do TV with the Xbox One X. We were at the brink of having smart TVs. Yeah. There was a time when you had to have a console to stream Netflix directly on your TV. You know, I remember that time when Netflix just launched. There were no smart TV apps for it. So you had to have a different device. And that was my Xbox 360, which I used to stream Netflix in the early days. Then it's completely redundant. I'm not even sure if I have the Netflix app or YouTube app installed on my Xbox. I'm really not sure. I don't know. Because now we have the smart TV for that. I don't need to turn on my console to stream Netflix. So I don't know where we will be in the year 28 by then. But I want to touch also on his point of Xbox starting the next gen early. Do you think that's likely?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll release it when they feel it's necessary. I don't think it'll be early. I don't think it'll be late. It'll just be as and when they feel it's necessary. But 2028 is still 5 years away. We've already had 3 years. That would be an 8-year generation. Even if it's 27, that's still a 7-year generation. Like we're talking like previous gens have been anywhere between 7 and 9 years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in line as to where it's meant to be, despite having a pushback this year due to COVID. Well, this gen due to COVID and pushing loads of development back and technology back and things like that. Even outside of that, it's still just in line with regular kind of timescales.
Yeah,
they could have pushed it further out and said longer, but I don't think it's necessary. As we've spoke on many occasions, technology is moving at such a pace that you kind of need to speed things up a bit.
That's so true, and especially, let's assume
by the time you come to 28, the consoles will be that outdated, outdated.
Absolutely.
Like in 28.
They are already, if you are honest. But it's still in a range where you don't feel, I need a new one. But I mean, it will be interesting to see because, of course, the mid-gen refresh consoles play a big role or part in that as well. If PlayStation has the PS5 Pro coming next year, the question really is, what should Xbox do with next gen? If they launch it early, like a year, even just a year earlier than PlayStation will with the PS6, because they can let the current gen run a year longer, Xbox would again be behind in terms of power, for the entire next gen. Don't think that they want that to happen. So I think the next Xbox will come out. Of course, we all know that the console generation cycle is about 7-8 years. So 28 is the safe bet here. I feel like, of course, you would align that with your biggest competitor. You don't want to launch a year or two apart and then stay behind a certain power narrative for the rest of the gen. It's just not going to happen. So we shall see when the next gen starts. But Dutch, with that, let's wrap this show up. Man, it's been an awesome time for us, I think. I hope for you guys as well here in the chat, and of course for everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here today. Lots of interesting topics we covered. And Dutch, let everyone know where they can find you, what you've coming up.
Indeed. You can find me everywhere as usual at Wondering Dutch, on PlayStation and Xbox. And I'm not even going to mention Switch. You need a social security code and like your driver's license and
Yeah.
Even on Steam, you can find us at Wondering Dutch. Not that I'm on there very often. Twitter, Wondering Dutch X, and of course for me, every Mondays currently Final Fantasy 16, Tuesdays Cyberpunk, Wednesday the podcast. Usually when I have panel members available. If not, you'll find us here doing a dual stream with Boxy on a Thursday, covering the podcast on both angles, on both Midweek Mix-Up and World of Gaming. If not, then you'll find me on both Midweek Mix-Up and then World of Gaming.
I'm letting you know, next Wednesday I won't be available for a Midweek Mix-Up podcast because we have our company Christmas party. And that's probably the reason why next Thursday you will see a hungover Boxenberger here hosting. So...
Okay. Nice. But then, Friday, this Friday at least, it'll be Final Fantasy 16, followed by Elder Scrolls Online on Saturday. And then the following week, Final Fantasy 16 on Friday will stop because we'll be doing Avatar playthrough.
Nice.
So, lots of streams. It's dual streaming on Twitch and YouTube, so you've got any platform you want to watch it on. For the game streams. So game streams 4 times a week and the podcast on a Wednesday and or Thursday. So that's where you can find me. What about you?
Well, easy to find. Boxenberger everywhere. And don't do a lot of streams like you do. But of course, we will be back next week with the World of Gaming. Entering December now. We're also getting close to our 100th episode, man. Yeah, so... but that will be probably in January. We will hit that goal in January. But other than that, I will be live, of course, playing a lot of games. And if you see me online, just hit me up. Otherwise, you will find me also on Twitter. And next week, we will be back, hopefully with a guest. But other than that, I want to wish you all a great weekend. Friday is near. And then we hopefully get all some time to relax and play some games. And up until then, don't forget to game on.